Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking all that dense, intimidating mutual fund paperwork and turning it into a super practical, easy-to-read nutrition label for your portfolio. You know, hidden inside those mountains of legal pages is the exact blueprint of where your money's going, what it costs, and the real risks you're taking on. So let's just cut straight through the jargon and decode exactly what you need to look for. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start by decoding the ultimate warning. Then we'll meet the big three essential documents, measure your actual risk, navigate costs and value, and finally, wrap up with tracking your investment.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Decoding the Ultimate Warning.
Let's start with literally the most famous, fast-talking disclaimer in all of finance. We've all heard this phrase, right? It's rapidly mumbled by that auctioneer speed voice at the very end of commercials. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Please read all scheme-related documents before investing. But honestly, what does reading the scheme-related documents actually mean for your hard-earned life savings? And why do regulators absolutely insist on this exact phrasing?
Well, it really all boils down to a fundamental legal principle called caveat emptor, which basically means let the buyer beware. See, the second you sign that mutual fund application, you're entering into a binding contract. The law just presumes you've read, understood, and agreed to every single thing in those documents, so you really can't claim ignorance later on if the fund's strategy totally shifts or if it turns out to be way more volatile than you thought. That makes these documents the absolute vital nutrition label for your investment. If you skip reading them, you're essentially just buying a mystery box.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet the big three essential documents.
Okay, so to actually find the treasure hidden inside that mystery box, we've got to decode the core paperwork. There are three mandatory documents you absolutely need to know about. I like to call them the big three. First up is the SID, or Scheme Information Document. Next is the SAI, the Statement of Additional Information. And finally, there's the KIM, which stands for Key Information Memorandum.
Let's break these down a bit because they're really important. The SID is basically your microscope on the specific fund you're buying into. It lays out the exact asset allocation and investment strategies. The SAI, on the other hand, kind of zooms out. Think of it as a thorough background check on the entire asset management company running the show, covering your investor rights and the tax implications. Now, while the SID and SAI are these massive, comprehensive public documents vetted by the regulator SEBI, the KIM is a whole different ballgame. The KIM is your essential, easily digestible cheat sheet. It covers performance, expenses, and core objectives, and it's completely mandatory that you get a KIM with every single application form. It's literally designed so you don't have to slog through 100 pages of legalese just to grasp the basics.
Let's jump to Section 3, Measuring Your Risk. Now that we know where to actually look, let's check the very first vital sign of any investment. What's really cool here is how incredibly simple and visual the regulators have made this. Enter the riskometer. This is a mandatory pictorial dial that you'll find smacked right on the front page of the SID and inside your KIM. Its entire job is to help you instantly gauge the danger level to your principal investment. No crazy financial jargon, just a clear visual indicator.
This dial features 6 very specific color-coded levels. It starts all the way down at Irish green for low risk, moves up through shades like neon yellow for moderate, caramel for moderately high, and pushes all the way into the red zone for very high risk. But here is the absolute game changer you need to remember. This dial is not frozen in time. The mutual fund actually has to reevaluate this riskometer every single month. If the underlying assets start getting more volatile, that needle moves, and the fund is legally required to let you know. It's an amazing feature because it ensures you're never flying blind when market conditions change.
All right, on to Section 4, Navigating Costs and Value.
So beyond a risk, we definitely have to talk about costs. And the big thing here is understanding the dynamic between two absolutely crucial acronyms, NAV and TER. NAV stands for Net Asset Value. Think of this as your price tag. It's the exact price per unit that you buy into the fund at or sell out of it, and it's calculated every single business day. On the flip side, we have the TER, or Total Expense Ratio. This is the daily disclosed cost of actually running the fund. We're talking management fees, admin costs, all that stuff. Why does TER matter so much? Because high ongoing costs will quietly but very consistently eat away at your returns over time. That's exactly why regulators force AMCs to prominently disclose their TER on their websites every single day.
If you want to check your financial health at any given moment, the documents give you a remarkably simple formula. Your current value is just the unit balance in your account multiplied by the current NAV. That's literally it. Whenever you get your statement, just look at the number of units you own, grab today's NAV from the website, and boom, you instantly know exactly what your portfolio is worth right then and there. And finally, Section 5, tracking your investment. Because, let's be real, investing is definitely not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of deal. But there's actually this really fascinating quirk in the mutual fund industry when it comes to tracking your money. By law, mutual funds have to keep you updated with mandatory addendums whenever a material change happens to the SID or the KIM, plus they have to send you half-yearly portfolio disclosures and annual reports. But ironically enough, the single most popular tracking tool used by basically everyone, investors, researchers, distributors, is completely non-mandatory. It's called the monthly fund fact sheet. Technically, it's just a voluntary marketing document, but it has absolutely become the gold standard for the industry. Even though CB doesn't legally require it, the fund fact sheet is essentially your ultimate monthly dashboard. In just a few glossy, easy-to-read pages, you get the inception date, the total corpus size, which is known as AUM, the current NAV, and that updated riskometer we talked about earlier. Ever wonder what specific companies your fund manager is actually buying with your money? The fact sheet lays out the top 10 holdings and sector allocations for you. And if you're a bit of a finance geek, it even throws in advanced metrics like the PE ratio, beta, and the Sharpe ratio to measure risk-adjusted returns. It's the whole shebang, all in one place.
So we've journeyed all the way from the ultimate warning of caveat emptor, met the big three documents, figured out NAV, and explored the monthly fact sheet. You now know exactly how to read the nutrition label of your mutual fund. But I really want to leave you with this one provocative thought. You've signed the form, you've agreed to all the terms, but do you really know what's inside your portfolio today? Take just a few minutes after this explainer, pull up the key information memorandum for your latest investment, or just download this month's fun fact sheet. Look at that riskometer, check your total expense ratio, find out exactly what you are feeding your financial future right now. Because at the end of the day, an informed buyer is the most profitable buyer. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and happy